Hello and welcome to A Body Like Bruce. We stumbled upon this book while looking for another to verify a statement made that Bruce Lee possibly had a child to some unnamed Japanese woman in a 1987 magazine. We're still looking for that. If you know or have it in your possession, or a link to it, would be great. Let us know and we'll do a video on it in the comment section. And if you like this video, simply subscribe to our channel, give us a like, add your comments below the video in the comment section, and then share this great video with all your family, friends, neighbours, etc. who are ardent, die-hard Bruce Lee fans. So we're going to take a look at this book. Here's the cover here. The 80th birthday celebration of Bruce Lee, an American hero who became a worldwide icon and inspiration. Contents: introduction by Thomas Lee, editorial director of the Chinese Historical Society of America's 2021 We Are Bruce Lee exhibit. This is a quote. Good looking and stylish, Lee broke all the stereotypes of how Asian men had been portrayed in Hollywood. The source of his charisma was comfort and self-assurance about who he was as a person and what he had to offer the world. Introduction by Thomas Lee, Chinese Historical Society of America. Bruce Lee had the look, not just the face of a movie star, but the look of someone who knew something others didn't. It was the look of a person destined for greatness. I feel this great force, this untapped power, this dynamic something within me, Lee wrote. This feeling defies description, and there is no experience with which this feeling may be compared. It is something like strong emotion mixed with faith, but a lot stronger. And that's where he made the statement, if it's the Godhead, etc., etc. Though he wasn't an atheist, as some claim, he did state in one of his many interviews, well, I don't really believe in God, but I believe in the void, because he's Asian, isn't he? And he believes in Taoism, Zen, okay, and just many other quotes within the many biographical books on him, where he mentions about religion, God, etc. And we actually found a photo of him sitting amongst his 2,500 books, or beside it, and we noticed he had a book on Islam. So there was some sort of interest there. Anyway, back to this. Throughout his life, Bruce Lee possessed an almost supernatural sense of self-assurance. Some might mistake this quality as arrogance, yet Lee lived in a world and time that required all the confidence he could muster. It's entirely fair to say, decades later, that we still live in an equally challenging world today. That is a big reason why the Chinese Historical Society of America in San Francisco decided to create an exhibit on Bruce Lee. CHSA is the oldest organization in the country, dedicated to the interpretation, promotion and preservation of the social, cultural and political history and contributions of the Chinese in America. A Bruce Lee exhibit in the Bay Area has long been overdue. Lee was born on November 27th, to go into that detail. Yet surprisingly there has been little to mark Lee's connection to this historic neighbourhood. Since Lee would have turned 80 years old this year, the timing seems appropriate. So does the moment that we are all struggling to overcome. In 2020, the global pandemic and issues of social unrest and intolerance have made every day an often heartbreaking struggle. Bruce Lee does not live in our time, but he shared and worked to overcome similar obstacles. In his own lifetime, the name of Chisa's exhibit is "We Are Bruce Lee, Under the Sky, One Family." The title refers to how Bruce Lee once answered a question from an interviewer about whether he considered himself Chinese or American. Lee said that he considered all people to belong to the same family because we are all human. He did tell a friend, "I did this and that because it's an American thing to do. Okay, and I'm an American." Some may feel it's impossible to compare themselves to Bruce Lee, a figure who has become a larger-than-life legend. But Bruce Lee was entirely human. He was born like everyone else, an ordinary person with a few advantages, some notable challenges, and endless possibility. To demonstrate Lee's humanity, the "We Are Bruce Lee" exhibit focuses on 4 personas. The visionary. Bruce Lee was a highly entrepreneurial, innovative man who disrupted the worlds of entertainment, martial arts, and pop culture. In every industry, in every profession, ideas are what America is looking for. He wrote, "Ideas have made America what she is, and one good idea will make a man what he wants to be." Lee opened kung fu studios that catered to both the general public and Hollywood celebrities. In Hong Kong, he formed his own production company, Concord Productions, to make his masterpiece Enter the Dragon, which allowed him creative control of the film. The athlete, Lee developed his own unique brand of martial arts called Jeet Kune Do, which emphasized no one style but rather the improvisation of different techniques, including kung fu, boxing, and fencing, to best suit the opponent and situation. Today, we see his vision play out in mixed martial arts, a multi-billion-dollar global industry led by the Ultimate Fighting Championship. UFC President Dana White called Bruce Lee the father of mixed martial arts. Bruce Lee also spent considered time thinking about how to train his body. In an era when people prized pure strength, Lee emphasized power, flexibility, and speed. To this end, he developed specific strategies on exercise, fitness, and nutrition. The unifier. Bruce Lee and his films inspired people across the world. Lee holds a particularly special place in the hearts and minds of generations of African Americans who embraced martial arts as a means to black empowerment. As author David Walker wrote in Becoming Black, Lee's movies laid a foundation for what would become a significant challenge to the established racial ideologies entrenched in popular culture. The work redefines the filters through which blacks were presented and perceived in popular culture. Just going to have a drink of water because the Kermit frog is in my throat. Bliss. This transformation, which played out in movie theatres, drive-ins, on television, and the burgeoning home video market of the 1980s, would have a tremendous impact on black youth. The thinker, Lee studied philosophy at the University of Washington and produced copious writings on how to obtain self-knowledge and live one's best life. Lee believed that people should adopt a flexibility to life that would allow them to overcome adversity by adapting to whatever circumstances the world presents. Be like water, making its way through cracks, Lee said. Do not be assertive, but adjust to the object, and you shall find a way around or through it. If nothing within you stays rigid, outward things will disclose themselves. There is untapped power within each of us to make the world a better place. This section of the exhibit will pay particular focus to Be Water, My Friend, a new book by Bruce Lee's daughter Shannon Lee. The work, published by Flatiron Books, examines how Bruce Lee's philosophies can serve as tools for personal growth and self-actualization. If you can find it, we'll do a video on it. Through her father's writings, Shannon explains how people achieve freedom, power, and self-expression, also through her podcast. which we have covered one of them. Research your own experience or something like that. Brilliant. Chisa hopes that Bruce Lee's life... through her father's writings, Shannon explains how people achieve freedom, power and self-expression. Chisa hopes that Bruce Lee's life and words will continue to inspire Americans to reach our full potential. We sincerely believe that there is an untapped power within each of us to make the world a better place. That is why we are all Bruce Lee. Yeah. And there's a little note by the editor, or about the editor. Father and son. Bruce's father, Lee Hoi Chun, was a popular opera singer and film actor in Hong Kong. Bruce was conceived and born in San Francisco while his parents were on tour in the US. I think he looks more like his mother. Kung Fu on TV. The Green Hornet lasted only one season on TV, but Lee made a favourable impression as Kato. In Hong Kong, the Green Hornet was known as the Kato Show. His style of fighting was new and exciting for viewers, especially for the Asians, right? They loved it. There he is with Brandon, learning the ropes. Lee, showing his son Brandon, moved his family to Hong Kong to create films that would prove that well-made kung fu movies were marketable. Birth of a legend. In Hong Kong, Lee founded his own production company. This gave him the freedom and control to make extremely popular and financially successful films. Remembered forever. Bruce Lee statues like this one in Hong Kong can be found around the world, a tribute to his popularity and the lasting impact that Lee made in a short lifetime. Destined for greatness. Bruce Lee, shown here as a teenager, may have appeared to be 100% Chinese, but he was of Eurasian descent and was born in San Francisco. Apparently his mother was German, Dutch or German or Jewish or something like that, and Chinese. We have looked at her history, family history. It wasn't very nice up until she met her husband, Lee Hoi Chun. He was born in San Francisco, proud of his heritage and his birth country. He's talking about America. Lee would spend much of his life facing forms of discrimination in both America and Hong Kong. He took it pretty well. Seeing that Pierre Burton interview, he says, these things happen. That's the way the world is. Here's an article on Bruce. His parents wanted to make sure the American-born son was always free to return. This is brothers or sisters. Probably Agnes, Phoebe, Robert, Peter Robert, and his mother Grace. Here he is. Playing around on their car, I suppose. Rolls Royce. So they're quite wealthy. Born under a good sign, a year of the dragon. There he is with his mother and father. Pretty sure that's who they are. And more on Bruce Lee as the actor. I was a bit of a troublemaker and was greatly disapproved of by my elders. And he's a prankster as well, apparently. Like to play pranks. Here's a quote. The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering, long after you're gone. Bruce and his love for motorbikes. Here's Rebel chapter. It's about him being a rebel. And then here he is with Ip Man, or Yip Man. and he states he was a punk who went looking for fights. Finding a new way, instructor Ip Man agreed to take on Bruce as a student at his Wing Chun Association, despite the protest of other students who didn't think Lee should be taught martial arts because he was not 100% Chinese. The teacher would help guide Lee through his wild teen years and open his mind to calm and discipline. America always represented a fresh start, and it seemed like Bruce Lee needed one. There he is with Ip Man and some woman he's doing cha-cha with. Yeah, one of his films. Going up against a teacher, Hong Kong's James Dean. Despite acting less and less as a teenager, Bruce landed an iconic role in The Orphan, Hong Kong's take on Rebel Without a Cause. The film cast Lee as a surly, tough and charismatic teen with a taste for trouble. The part wasn't too far from the truth. Shortly after the film's release, Bruce left Hong Kong for a fresh start in America. No one is allowed to imitate Little Dragon. Who said that? Okay, he reflects in an essay he wrote in 1961. About 4 years of hard training in the art of Kung Fu, I began to understand and felt the principles of gentleness, the art of neutralizing the effect of the opponent's effort, and minimizing expenditure of one's energy. All this must be done in calmness and without striving. It sounded simple, but in actual application it was difficult. Bruce continued, my instructor, Professor Ip Man, would come up to me and say, relax and calm your mind. Forget about yourself and follow the opponent's movement. Let your mind do the counter movement without any interference. Interfering deliberation. Above all, learn the art of detachment. That was it. I must relax. Yeah, the art of fighting without fighting. Just going with the flow, being like water. Automatic response. I don't hit. Lifting his fist. That hits all by himself. And so forth. Another quote, mistakes are always forgivable if one has courage to admit them. This chapter's pioneer. Only in America. When Bruce Lee arrived back in America, his plan was to study to become a professional, maybe a doctor, dentist or even a pharmacist. But he soon discovered that the young people he met in the US wanted to learn his techniques in martial arts and were willing to pay him to be a teacher. Traditionally, only the Chinese were meant to learn Kung Fu. Bruce Lee broke from tradition and taught anyone. Okay, in a dappy suit somewhere, sitting alone by the water, contemplating. Bruce's first martial arts students were blacks, Latinos, Asians and whites, and the Chinese Kung Fu community didn't like that idea, right? There's evidence here. People approached him and said, will you teach me Kung Fu? How could he say no? There he is there, and amongst all these people, there are all the different people, right? There's white, there's Asian, black, nerds, they're all there. Taught them all. It's like Taki Kimura. It's possibly James Yim Lee, not really sure. But yeah, Taki Kimura pretty much stands out. The individual is more important than the style. Getting noticed. Bruce, shown here at the Long Beach Championship, participated in some of the largest martial arts exhibitions in the country. A showcase for his skill, charm and brash confidence. This would lead to some of the biggest breaks of his life, including the one that would eventually lead him back to acting in Hollywood. Another quote by Bruce Lee. Sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. It's a positive mindset. Here comes the TV idol. Who was that masked man? Cast as Kato in the 1966 TV show The Green Hornet, Bruce Lee made an unplanned return to acting. Despite the show airing just one season, Lee made an impression on audiences and Hollywood executives. For Bruce, the part opened the door to a new and widely influential way to share his rapidly developing beliefs about martial arts and life in general through entertainment. The love of his life, well, second love of his life, the one he married and had children to, Linda Emery, who became Linda Emery Lee, aka Linda Lee Cadwell. He's the cast of The Green Hornet. This guy, I can't remember his name. He recently died. Okay. Bruce Lee is Kato. William Dozier, creator of Batman. Adam West Batman. Yeah. Bruce Lee made 20 films in Hong Kong, but he had no aspirations of Hollywood stardom. Playing Kato was a chance to bring martial arts into America's living rooms. Who's this? Could this be Joe Lewis or something? Not really sure. Oh no, that's a what's his name? The guy, lead actor of Green Hornet. They're working out. Yeah, it looks like him. Yeah, Green Hornet star Van Williams. He died quite a few years back. Lived to be about 80 or something. I'm not really sure. Okay. Kato, the Green Hornet. Kato was an active partner, not a mute follower. Yeah, because he had like very little dialogue, so he approached the directors or someone and said, "Hey, come on, man, make it more interesting. Give him a few lines to say." Quote by Bruce Lee: "In the middle of chaos lies opportunity." Yeah, you get people coming at you, giving you a hard time with that sort of stuff, negatives or whatever, really running you down. Here's an opportunity to turn it around, right? Using reverse psychology or that sort of stuff. So you don't be affected by it. It's like water off a duck's back, just bounces off you, right? Because you're so confident, as he was. He used to get crap all the time, right? People challenging, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so he often turned it around, shrugged it off, etc., etc. Entrepreneur or creative problem solver, solution finder, man with a plan. Bruce Lee once dreamed of creating a chain of his own martial arts, like McDonald's, chain like that, martial arts studios around the country, but faced with the possibility and compromises of making that dream a reality, Bruce instead decided to pursue a different path, to share his talents with the world. To make it work, Bruce needed to turn himself into a businessman, as he had when facing challenges in his life. Bruce rose to the occasion with style and flair. Yeah, stumbling blocks. You never let stumbling blocks stop him. He tear down all the walls, right, in order to succeed in everything he set himself, which he did amazingly. Here he is, legendary fight with Chuck Norris, a very hairy guy in those days. Way of the Dragon. To become a star, he became a movie mogul. Two legends. As Bruce Lee's reputation grew, so did the demand for his services as a trainer. Among the stars that Bruce Lee would develop a strong working relationship and friendship with was future action star Chuck Norris. The two legends would appear together in Way of the Dragon, the 1972 film released in America as Return of the Dragon. Yeah, there was no Bruce Lee probably wouldn't have been a Chuck Norris as popular as he was after that and today, if he's still doing movies. Yeah, it's pretty good movies. Good Guys Wear Black, Legacy of Rage or something like that, all these different ones. Yeah, all these different movies. Actually, I don't know if Legacy of Rage was actually his, but yeah, Lone Wolf McQuade, Good Guys Wear Black, The Force of One, pretty good. Check them out. Okay, him and Dean Martin on The Wrecking Crew. What's this guy's name? James Franciscus, Longstreet. He trained like Dean Martin, Steve McQueen, and here's his famous quote: "Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. Be water, my friend." Is this Raymond Chow? Game or Death? Set. Years of struggle and work finally paid off. Yeah, he went through a lot of disappointments, letdowns, shows being cancelled, being told, oh, you can't star in this movie idea that you had because you're too Asian looking, right? Twice lost it to David Carradine, who wasn't even a kung fu fighter apparently, he was just a ballet dancer or something, or dancer. What did Chuck Norris say? Oh, he's more of a David Carradine's about as good as martial artist as he is an actor. Optimism is a fate that leads to success. It's his family. Linda, Bruce with a mustache and a beard, Brendan, and Shannon. And what's this chapter, my father? Away from the spotlight, the Lee family, Brandon, Bruce, Lee, Linda and Shannon, circa 1970. This photo's taken about 1970. See the hippie style clothing, you know? It's all the rage. Well, he mingled with the Hollywood elite, right? Like Roman Polanski, Jay Sebring, all those sort of people, Sharon Tate. He was supposed to go for a meeting at some house where Sharon Tate, etc., maybe Jay Sebring were killed by the Manson girls. Yeah, if he had, well, it would have been interesting. He might have kicked some butt, you know, real hard. But then again, they're a woman, but still, he might have kicked some butt and saved some lives. Okay, so this is a chapter, my father. There he is with Shannon. She's so adorable at that age, right? Girl Dad. Bruce shown here sharing some quiet time with Shannon while on set Bruce was an ordinary father to his children. It was only later that Shannon and her brother Brandon realised how many people knew and loved their father and all that he represented as an entertainer, martial artist, teacher and philosopher. And here's his quote: "Under the sky of heaven, we are all one family." And they've asked Shannon some questions. As an older person today, right? On the occasion of his 80th birthday, how do you want the world to remember your father? Shannon Lee. People certainly know my father's name. They know him as a martial artist, an action star, this badass kung fu guy, but they didn't necessarily know him as well or as broadly as a philosopher or thinker or innovator or renaissance man. All of the different ways that I see him. That is really at the core of what they get excited about when they see him on screen. Without all of that foundation, he is not someone we would still be talking about 47 years after his passing. People see him and they know some of the quotes, like "Be water, walk on." But as you delve into more of his writing, I really want people to be able to see just what a philosopher he was and for them to get his message and to fully understand it. What part of his message do you think most resonates today? Shannon, it's a multi-layered message, but I think that the most prevalent one is the message of self-actualization. There was a guy, European guy with a bald head, always wore black, had a black background. He used to really get into that and teach self-actualization, which is quite good. It is of knowing yourself and expressing yourself and being yourself to the best of your abilities. so you can walk through the world naturally as your quintessential self. At the same time, of course, he had a humanitarian message. Under the sky of heavens we are one family. And I think that the biggest thing that I see right now that is just so troubling to me, it's to Shannon Lee, is the polarization and the right, wrong, good, bad that's going on. The beginning of his Be Water quote is, empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. One of the points of that is to stop judging everything and everyone. We have to make allowance for one another and have compassion for one another and understand that people have all kinds of issues, and you telling them that they are wrong is not helping the problem. I really feel like this is the hardest thing, because we all want to be right. People want to point the finger away from themselves, and this goes back to knowing oneself. There are all kinds of problems in the world, but the really important thing is, how are you responding to it? And then to ask you, what are your strongest memories of growing up? How do you think your father might have shaped his career had he lived longer? What do you think he was going to do next? She says it's hard to say, but she knows that he did want to move back to the United States. He very much preferred living in the United States, and California in particular. When they moved for his movies, it was always supposed to be temporary, etc. She says here, and we quote, I strongly remember the imprint of my father. There she is there, with her mother. Yeah, here's a photo of the family. Unicorn Chan, Shannon, Linda, Bruce, and Way the Dragon, right? And there's Brandon there. Shannon. I've run into so many people from all walks of life who have been inspired and impacted by her father, right? She's a good looking woman, right? There's the mother, Linda. Quote from Bruce Lee. The function and duty of a quality human being is a sincere and honest development of one's potential. And this chapter's on Bruce Lee, the legend. The dragon lives on. Bruce's sudden death left fans wanting more. This led to countless tribute movies. Yeah, all these clones, right? Some used footage of Bruce shot for various unfinished projects. Others featured look-alike actors, clones. Eventually the genre expanded to include characters of all races and nationalities. The point was no longer to represent Bruce Lee himself, but rather what he stood for. Yeah, there's more clones of Bruce Lee there in movies, etc., than there was of Elvis, right? In movies. Gates McQueen, Coburn, June Gu Rhee, Chuck Norris. Not too sure who this guy is. This guy. Yeah, all pallbearers apparently. Look at that crowd. They just went mental. Seen the footage of it. Of his funeral in his remembrance. Not going to say what John Lennon said in regard to the Beatles, but yeah, he was certainly very, very popular, right, to that point. I didn't realise the impact of Bruce until his death. Whoever said that. And there's his grave memorial. Right, there's somebody else over here. There's his right next to it. Okay, that's pretty humble, right? Next to somebody else you probably didn't even know. They have no idea who he is. But yeah, what if they'll like take the time out to? Well, I guess that would be distracting if they put it upright. But yeah, he's buried next to somebody who died around looks like 1879. Bruce Lee's memorial tombstone, and then the one here is Brandon's, and then he's got this quote here from Bruce Lee. He's got this quote. Right. Okay, laid to rest. Soon after his memorial service in Hong Kong, Bruce's wife Linda decided to return to the US for a burial ceremony held in Seattle, the city where Bruce first settled after returning to America. Seattle would become a special place for fans and followers of Bruce Lee, a fact that remains true to this day. In a divided world torn apart by conflict, Bruce faced discrimination from all sides. Yeah, it's all detailed in those biographies, interviews, etc. Ruby Charles, was it? Not really sure. Or Chinese theatre, anyway. Yeah, I think that Chinese theatre may have been Ruby Charles. It was turned into Chinese theatre. The premiere of Into the Dragon, by the looks of it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he could kick that high. Oh my gosh, that's like French La Savate, right? Okay, somebody in a comment or forum, not forum, yeah, something like that, said he couldn't kick for crap. He couldn't kick that high, you know. That's just like a movie scene, right? He's just showing his ability. Yeah, he'd probably go lower, right? Because the guy's so tall. He'd probably go down here, attack him here, you know, because he can't reach. Yeah, he can't, you know, if he's like a karate type guy. But I think he was unorthodox, wasn't he? Yeah, he'd go for his ankles, his foundation. Would be able to block it, etc., etc. Okay, just a bit of trivia there. Okay, quote from Bruce Lee again. A goal is not always meant to be reached. It often serves simply as something to aim at. And monument, statue. We are Bruce Lee. Okay, all the fans. Oh, cool, we got a Walk of Fame star. And here's a quote from Bruce Lee. Adjust to the object and you shall find a way around or through it. Yeah, probably something to do with, you know, stumbling blocks or a wall you've created or someone else has created, right, to stop you from going forward. Find a way to knock it down, climb over it, dig under it, etc., etc. The many posters, film posters, etc. that came out, or the memorabilia, that giant spray painting. Where I lived, I remember being on a train, taking the train to go somewhere, and saw a brilliant spray painting of Bruce Lee. I think sometime later, don't know if it's still there, or maybe the building got knocked down, or it disappeared, was painted over, whatever, but it was brilliant. Wish I had a fancy phone at that time and take a picture of it. Okay, so his lasting influence all around the world. Bruce Lee's image continues to be looked to as a symbol of everything he stood for in life, from entertainment to martial arts to issues of equality and human rights. People of all backgrounds turn to Bruce Lee for inspiration, positivity and hope in the face of daunting challenges and seemingly impossible odds. Yeah, I've got Game of Death tune in my head. Oh my gosh, just suddenly popped in my head. All problems are brought into existence, drop them. Another quote by Bruce Lee. Yeah, all problems are brought into existence, drop them. Yeah, overcome them, get rid of them, get them out of your life. Okay, and here's some credits. Yeah, Bruce Lee doing a wicked ass flying kick. And here's a very well-known quote by Bruce Lee. Looks like it's from the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. That's a photo there. Absorb what is useful, disregard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Again, absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Bruce Lee. So basically, okay, whatever field or genre you want to major in, be an expert in, succeed in, etc., etc., you got to go do the personal research, gather all the data, have a look at it, and decide, well, okay, yeah, I can use this, right, and incorporate it in your personal life for self-betterment, self-achievement, all that sort of stuff, right? So say like Napoleon Hill, Vincent Peale, Dale Carnegie, all those self-help gurus, Socrates, Plato, etc., etc., wherever you can find it, right? And yeah, incorporate it in your personal life so you can succeed, etc., etc., right? But you come across a lot of rubbish, you know, which you realise, well, that's not going to work. Trial and error, yeah, that doesn't work. That sounds like phooey. You know, you just dump it. Okay, you can take bits and pieces from everybody, like he did with Guru Jiddu Krishnamurti, right? He adopted it and then he adapted it and made it his own. Yeah, that's what he's saying there. Add to your repertoire what is specifically your own. Okay, so that's that book we found online. We hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and give us a like. Add your comments below this video in the comment section, and then go share this fantastic video with all your family, friends, and neighbours, etc. Your church friends, your Jewish friends, your Islamic friends, whoever, who are ardent, or secretly ardent, because they're religious, right? Bruce Lee fans from way back.